Welcome to the Jaren Jarvis channel. I am Jaren Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you a little story from the local shut-down hospital. I'm an 18-year-old male, and was 17 at the time of these events. I live in a small town in the middle of a foresty area. I've had a bunch of things that has happened to me, but the story I'm about to share has haunted me and my friend since. And since the following is going to be a few different events, I'm going to tell them in the order they happened, over a time span of 4 months. I'm an exploring kind of person. I love horror and the rush of adrenaline I get when I'm spooked. I believe in the paranormal and I have a close friend who does the same. We spend a lot of time together out walking on old railroad tracks and talk about life, just winding down. We're really close, and I see him as my brother, considering how we've known each other our entire lives. Let's call him W just to simplify things. There's this old hospital that lies on the outskirts of our town, just by the woods. It's been shut down for probably 60+ years now, and it's been pretty much abandoned. Me and W usually cross that place when we're out on our walks, and often end up just talking about it, and all the rumors it has, since supposedly, people have died in there both before and after it shut down, and it's rumored it was a mental asylum as well, so it's a pretty creepy area. For the following to make sense, I got to explain how the place is laid out. Picture a lower capsule M. The top part of the M is where the entrance is, and on the back it has 3 wings, leaving 2 gaps between the wings. It was a late summer night, and the sun had just started to set. Our summer break was almost over, and the night had started to get a lot more darker this time around, and we were circling this place, which wasn't as easy as you'd think, as a lot of scrap and old tires and such were laying around, and since this place was unkept, we were walking around in waist-high grass. We were at first just joking around, trying to scare ourselves by sharing thoughts about how someone was probably living in there, staring at us, but that fantasy surely got more intriguing when we started to knock on a door we found just 'cause we could, as we both went silent when we heard a faint knock from inside. This got us quite interested, as we aren't easily scared. We stuck around, knocking on different locations, and at times, heard knocks back, usually in the set of 3, in a rapid succession. That was what got us hooked in the first place, so we kept coming back, and finally decided to try and find a way inside. One night we had found an old porch that was on the back of this place, between 2 of the wings that the place had, and we were having a hushed conversation as the activity of the place had picked up, and trying to discuss how we were going to get up there, and had just decided that we were going to try the old fire ladder that was hanging 3 meters off the ground in the other wing when we both heard something, the sound of footsteps in the grass. Note that the 2 of us were standing in one of the corners inside the gap, so we had one way out, and that was towards the corner of the building. We both went quiet, and both turned our heads outwards towards one of the corners that lead out into the high, unkept grass. And just as we did, the sound stopped. Whatever it was, you could hear it was bipedal, and it was trying to sneak up on us while we were talking, and it was just around the corner. We looked at each other, and W said the following exact words to me after barely a second of processing this: "Leg it." And we did. We ran to the opposite end of the opening, expecting to see something or someone following us when we came out into the clearing, but we didn't. But that did not stop us from running, but the one thing that stopped me was when W, who was right behind me as we ran, at first tripped on an old tire in the high grass. Luckily he wasn't hurt, so after he got up, we took a quick look behind us before jogging the hell out of there, before trying to make sense of what just happened, since we didn't see anyone. We kept going there, and the following happened a late afternoon during the fall, as we had just planned how we were going to get in, considering the ladder was unreachable from the ground and we were planning our next visit there. The ladder went up to the roof of the 3-story tall building, and went right past a window which was missing the frame and glass, so if you got up, you could just slip inside by stretching out your foot. We were standing at the bottom, looking up at the window, and since the building had a risk of having the floor collapse, we were going to throw something up through the window to see if we could hear it land on the floor, since you'd be able to tell if it fell down 1 story. The following is a small detail which became horrifying to us later on, You could see the stairs just barely through the window from our angle. I had just picked up a piece of wood and thrown it through the window, and sure enough, we heard it land on the floor, but, barely 2 seconds after the first thud, we also heard 2 thuds from the stairs, as if someone was walking down it, as if something came to see what made the noise. This creeped us out a bit, so we stuck around for a while before starting to decide that we were going to leave for the day when we heard something from out in the woods, which sounded like someone drifting or burning rubber with a car. This wasn't impossible, considering how people recently started to get their driver's license and wanted to act tough in their old, beat-up Volvos. W seemed a bit skeptical, and I did as well, as that noise kept on going, for at least 20 seconds flat. If it was someone burning rubber, they wouldn't do it for that long, and it also stopped so abruptly, like it just got cut off, before continuing for maybe 5 or 10 more seconds. But what made me so sure it wasn't someone acting cool, was the fact that it started sounding more human with time, like a girl just screaming, but for that long, that loud. We got way too unnerved to stick around when we started hearing rustling in the woods, so we left for the day, and the following is the last visit we made to that place. It was a rainy autumn night. It was quite dark and we were heading out there again. We were decently prepared with flashlights, a rope, gloves to give us better grip and fully charged phones. The plan was to use the thick rope he had brought, which had a small loop on one end to get around one of the bottom steps of the ladder, and then pull the rope through the loop so we could climb up and reach the ladder. It took us about 15 minutes to get the rope up and around, and also down again to get the rope secured. This whole time we felt watched and unnerved, like something didn't want us there. We felt trapped, like something was going to come running at us from behind, our only exit. The cold rain made the climb up hard, as we were getting rigid and the rope was slippery, but I got up, and the moment I did, I felt isolated for some reason. The climb up to the window was probably a few meters, which meant that if I fell, I could seriously injure myself, on either all the broken glass or the old scrap. But what terrified me the most, was the moment I stepped inside. It was pitch black and this overwhelming weight came over me, and I felt weak in my entire body. Shining the flashlight around, I saw old needles, dark, brownish spots on the floor and walls, a bloody rag and the rusty old stairs, and also 2 long hallways both to the left and right, that seemed to go on forever. Something in my mind was convincing me not to turn around to look down at W, and I could tell it was not out of fear of what I would see out the window, but out of fear of something I'd see when I turned back to look into the darkness. I did my best to try and get W to climb up to join me, but he refused. I don't blame him. I didn't stay in there for long, I soon climbed down and we left, leaving the rope. The feeling of dread stuck with W for quite a while before leaving, but it never really left me, and I always feel like something is following me. This was last year, and it still haunts us. I started wanting to go back there, to go back inside, but W refuses to go that close again. Doing some research, I came to the conclusion of it being a demon that has latched onto me, as they apparently want to get their victims back to the place they latched on to get stronger. And also, we did actually go back there during broad daylight not too long after just to collect the rope while it was still sunny outside. It had a clean cut right where the loop was, leaving a small knot. I reminded that it's roughly 3 to 4 meters up into the air, and the cut was pretty much a perfect one. We still talk about this, and sometimes see lights in the windows of that old place when we pass it at night. The power was shut down over 50 years ago. This screwed with our minds quite a lot, and we have no clue about what the hell is going on in there.